Welcome to the Up Your Average podcast, where Keith and Doug give no-nonsense advice to level up your life. So buckle up and listen closely to Up Your Average.
Welcome, everybody, to the latest edition of the Up Your Average podcast. I'm Doug Shreve, and today we've got an exciting episode for you. If you are watching us, you'll see that I've got two cool guys next to me, and they've never been on this podcast before. Caleb Tyner, Kaden Clark are joining me. And have you guys ever been on a podcast?
Don't believe so, no.
I don't think so.
This is your first one?
This is it.
Okay. Well, this is just an avenue for my mom to get to know you and anyone else who's listening to this. We appreciate your support. But let me tell you a little bit about these two guys. Caleb, I've known since, I don't know, what year were you born?
02.
So I've known Caleb Tyner for almost his whole life.
Yeah.
And Kaden Clark, I've known for almost his whole life. Kaden's mom and dad are good friends of mine from childhood. But I get to have these guys with me today. And today is Caleb's fourth day.
Fourth day, yeah.
Caleb is a W-2 employee with Gimbal Financial, and we just couldn't be more excited about that. And Kaden, this is Kaden's first day doing a job shadow with us. Kaden, you are a sophomore?
Sophomore in college, yes, sir.
Sophomore in college at Manchester?
Manchester University.
Boy, when was the last time you all were up at Manchester? I mean, they've got a great ice cream shop.
They do.
What's the name of that?
What is it? Chills?
Chills.
Chills, yeah.
That's a great place. But what we thought we'd do today is we would introduce y'all to Caleb Tyner. And so Kaden and I have done some extensive research on good questions to ask Caleb. And just so you guys all know how these questions were discovered, I'll share my secret with you. I love, if you've been listening to the show, you know that I really love to use AI. And all AI is it's a big database full of stuff, like Kaden was saying, kind of like a library of just books and stuff. And it's paired with a super fast computer thingy. And so like you all have heard of NVIDIA stock. NVIDIA makes some super fast chips that help us get to the information quickly. And so with artificial intelligence, anybody can log on and use it, just like I could pick up a DeWalt drill and use it. But it takes some skill to be able to know how to use the tool properly and to really help people. And with AI, I've found you still have to ask it questions. It's not going to take over the universe because it has nothing to give until a question is asked.
Yeah.
And so to be able to ask good questions is key. And there's no better guy that I know than a guy by the name of Cal Fussman. And Cal Fussman has a podcast called Big Questions. That's how he says it. And Cal Fussman, really cool guy. Quick background on him. He was he wrote for GQ magazine. He wrote for Esquire, which I don't expect you guys to know anything about either one of those two, but those are pretty cool, like men's magazines. They taught you like how to tie a tie or what cufflinks to wear, or what shoes to buy. But Cal Fussman, he wrote a column in Esquire. And his column was basically, hey, what am I learning out there? And he would interview people like Muhammad Ali or Mikhail Gorbachev. He, at like 35 years old, he became a boxer just so he could understand the mindset of what it's like to go into a ring. And so with AI, what I did is I said, hey, what questions would Cal Fussman ask his new employee who's 20-something years old, who is going to be a guest on his podcast? And so because Cal Fussman has put some great stuff out there, great data, it's out there, you can listen to it. We were able to harvest this list of awesome questions to ask Caleb. And on Caden's first hour of the job, I said, Kaden, let's come up with 5 of these to ask Caleb Tyner. And I hope this is for your guys' benefit, your enjoyment. If you're driving down the road, I would love for you to even ponder, what would it be like if Kaden was asking me these questions? But get to know Caleb. And you want to pick one, Kaden, and go for it?
Yeah, I guess we'll go for it. Let's just say, what is one idea that recently you cannot stop thinking about?
Okay, that's a good one.
That's deep.
Yeah, I like how you so we discovered
every one of them are very deep if you ask it the right way. So
yeah,
I'd say you're gonna have to ponder on this.
One idea that I've thought about recently.
Could be anything. Could be baseball. How Notre Dame won last night. Anything.
Question that I had that I haven't looked into was I was driving by Carmel High School, and I was like, it is massive. Like, I don't know if it used to be that big. I know like Fisher's High School, when I was there, it grew in like population, like each class was bigger than the last. And I was like, I wonder if there's a cycle to that. Like, will the school get smaller over time because all the families have grown up, or do those families move and younger families move in? I was like,
let me put some information on this. I actually worked at a glass factory over the summer, and they did, work they do mostly insulation for more like, buildings like schools and hospitals and things like that. And they actually worked for Carmel High School and we do the frames mostly for it. And I think they just added a new addition pretty recently then, because they've worked on it for a year or two now. And, they send glass frames over there, and, big windows, installation teams put it up. And I think it's going to keep growing as well. I think.
Shout out to Delaware Glass.
Delaware Glass, yeah.
Yeah, Delaware Glass in
yeah.
Muncie, Indiana. But no, that's a great thing to ponder. What does population growth look like? And any community, one of their most prized group of people are young people, because they're the future.
Yeah.
And Carmel is interesting, isn't it? Because it's freaking huge. Yeah, I have 2 boys who've been Carmel High School students, and they would tell you that they don't want to see another school built, mainly for athletics.
Yeah.
That's great. That gives us some insight into how Caleb's mind works, the things that he thinks about. What's another good question you have, Katie?
Let's see. I started off easy and built up to.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, but they're all pretty difficult. So what excites you the most, you'd say, about the opportunity to work with just these people here and also the clients you guys have?
I think the biggest thing, on a personal standpoint, is working with like Doug, my dad, Libby, just everyone here. Like, they have so much to offer and can just help me grow as a person, grow my career, just on a day-to-day basis. And on a client standpoint, Doug had me read a book by Nick Murray, and one of the first chapters mentioned, like, there's part of it said, it's on, I think, both of our desks.
It's on our desk. I was looking to see if your dad had it too. Your dad's got it memorized. Oh, that's an important piece for everyone to know. Caleb is Keith's son.
Yeah, I am. But one of the first maybe chapter or two, it mentioned that you get to change, like, what you do is not something small. You get to change your clients' lives and probably their kids and generations. and you don't want to take it lightly, which like I like got like goosebumps reading that because I was like, I have thought about that, but it hadn't really sunk in. And I was like, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, that's
That's
great.
really cool.
That kind of bleeds into one of these other questions. Do you know which one I'm thinking of?
I'd say probably either.
Yeah, that's the one I was
gonna
thinking.
say, what gets you out of bed in the morning? Then, if you're talking on this aspect of that,
I think part of it is growth. Like 1% better every day. You see what, like you never know what any day has in store, and just that curiosity to see what can happen in your world and see the people, talk to people, and just be able to love on everyone.
I can't remember what book it was I read. I'm part of this group of guys that would get together and we'd talk about business. We'd talk about family lives. We'd even share our own personal balance sheets with each other. And so we're pretty close, but we all read a book. I can't remember what it was. It's probably like something called the 1% rule or something.
Yeah.
But in this book, they had talked about a Tour de France cycling team.
Mm-hmm.
And Caleb, you bring up something that I think is really important. You're not trying to know it all out of the gates. You're not trying to get ahead of where you already are by just leaps and bounds. But if you can just improve a little bit each day, that stacks.
Compounds.
Yeah.
Snowball effect down the hill.
Mm-hmm. And so this cycling team, what they did is they narrowed in on the details, the controllables. And they got so granular about this that they once had an idea, what if we dust the semi-trucks that our bikes are stored in overnight? And so they started to dust all the semi-trucks every night. And what did that do? That kept the chains from having dust mites on them.
Wow.
Which could give them an advantage over time. Yeah. It's going to speed up their cleaning process. Their chains are going to be full, fresh, ready to go. There's going to be no contaminants in them. And so it's just these little details that can really make a difference. And Keith and I, we have this friend. Keith is actually down in Murray, Kentucky right now at this friend's property. And when I was early on at Gimbal Financial, this friend told me, hey, do you know how you rise to the top? I said, no. I felt like an idiot. I didn't know what you're talking about. But he said, you serve, and you start by serving. Another guy that was pretty influential in my career was Keith's former business partner, Jim Pinkston. Jim Pinkston would always tell me, think like an owner. And I'd ask him, well, what does that even mean? And he'd tell me to go pick up the trash in the parking lot. Yeah. Okay. And so yesterday, Caleb was out salting the walks. We didn't even have salt here. And he went and got salt. He used the business credit card and he went and got salt. And so we're making the walks nice for our neighbors as they're walking their dogs and walking to work. And it's those little details that stack up and it shows, hey, I care about you. Whether you are doing something that benefits me or not, I care about you and I want to make your day better. And so it's those types of 1% moves that can really stack up and make a difference. And I think anybody consuming oxygen today could be excited to wake up out of their bed and say, what's something that could be done today where I'm just making a 1% improvement? I love how you answered that. Let's see. What else do we have, Kaden?
Let's see. So we've talked about, getting better and this 1% a day. What's something that you've gone through as like a failure that you've experienced that you're now grateful for?
Let me think about that for a second.
Deep questions. Take your time.
Keith and I, we interviewed a guy who is running a very successful business here in Carmel, and they talked about failing fast. Yeah. Which I really liked. If you're going to do something, blow it up quickly, then get the heck out of there. Okay. And so just to be able to be okay with failure is something that takes some time. Yeah. Maybe I want to 1%. I want to be better at failure. I don't know. Like but what do you think?
I was trying to think. Probably the first memory that I can remember of failing was maybe 4th grade. I tried out for the Fishers travel basketball team, and I was one of the 2 or 3 people that didn't make it, and I was devastated. But looking back on that, I wouldn't change anything because I went out there, tried my best, and they ultimately didn't want me. I don't know why that reason is, but that's not going to stop me from going out and doing it again. Or, I feel like failure it is a learning experience. And if you have people say no, or you have more failure in your life, it's just one step closer to success or a yes.
Isn't it funny how those failures in childhood, we're grown men, those failures in childhood can still play a role today.
Yeah.
They stick with you, yeah.
They stick with you. And you can ultimately get some freedom from them. And then that's where the lessons begin, when it's no longer just this personal burden I have to carry. It doesn't mean you're always going to be horrible at this or that. But those personal failures can really lead you to greatness. What else do you have on there?
Kate, all right, we're getting down to the last couple.
Yeah, we got a couple more.
I think we got what? We got did that one.
Here, you got one up top here.
Which one?
Did you do this?
I did that one actually. Yeah.
Okay, I crossed that off. Okay. Oh yeah, you did.
Yeah, I got one more actually. Don't I?
Yeah, one more.
Shoot. So I think it's best for last. If you could give advice to, say, your younger self, maybe 4th grade self, or anybody, what would it be?
That's it. Yeah.
I would say just be yourself. I feel like growing up in public school, and especially big schools and whatnot, part of you is not always going to express yourself just because there's so many people around you. You don't really want to let them know all of the sides of you and everything. Even for me, I'm a huge racing fan or NASCAR fan, and I feel like in middle school I got away from that because I was like, oh, that's not a cool thing to follow or anything, and none of my friends did. But now I'm all for it. I don't really care what people think, and I enjoy it, and that's all that really matters. So I'd say just be yourself, and I wouldn't say don't care what people think, but take it with a grain of salt. Mm-hmm. If you wouldn't ask for someone's advice, don't let their opinions bury you down.
Yeah, good word. Now, do you have a NASCAR race that is on your bucket list, that you haven't been to?
I haven't been to. I don't think so. It was I think probably in high school it was a dream. Maybe I'd take a gap year and just buy a van and just go travel the the country. But I'm good to go any and all. I don't discriminate.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Well, okay, so now I'm going to flip the switch here, and ask you the question. I asked Kaden, I said, which one of these questions do you not like on here, Kaden?
Would you change? Yeah.
And do you remember what you said?
I picked the one that said, I thought it was worded a little bit strange. It just said, if I were to ask your closest friend to describe you in 3 words, what would they say? And I thought that can be worded differently because you don't really know what they're going to say.
You're teaching Cal Fussman a lesson here.
Yeah, exactly. I guess this question might be wrong, but I thought it could say maybe, what would you want your closest friend to say about you? Or what would you want your father or your coworker to describe you in 3 words?
3 words. I think patient, reserved, and I'd say caring. I care for them, care for those around me.
Yeah, and Kaden and I, we were talking about how society today really puts importance on vulnerability.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think that vulnerability can even be worshipped. I think it can be a little too extreme. But a good friend of mine taught me there's a difference between secrecy and privacy. And a lot of times, like the core of who we are, that might be somewhat private information. Because what has helped you become patient? What has helped you be a caring person or be reserved? Those are the types of things that you really start going pretty deep on.
Yeah.
But in a client relationship where someone trusts you with their money, one of the most beautiful things is you start to be invited in to all the great areas of their lives. And it's those great areas of the lives that Nick Murray's book gave you goosebumps, because it's an invitation to do something big, to find out what wakes them up in the morning. If they could improve things 1%, what would it be? My guess is they're not going to say, I wish you would have improved your investment performance 1%. Now, maybe, but there's probably bigger things out there that they really want to improve. And so in this business, it starts with the investments, but really what it's about the heart of the person. And that's what we wanted to do today. We wanted to share the heart of Caleb so that you could get to know him a little better. And Caleb's role right now is basically like an apprentice. He is here to learn and be trained, and then to also increase some efficiencies on what we're doing in the way that we see it. And so, Kaden, I really appreciate you joining us today. Caleb, thank you.
Of course.
And Keith and I, we had the opportunity to record a couple really great episodes over the last couple of weeks, and we just can't wait for those to drop for you to listen to them. One of those episodes is of a guy that Mike Rowe, like he has a Real Deal podcast. And Mike Rowe interviewed this guy. Caleb's dad, Keith, he reached out to him and he joined us this week, and we recorded a great podcast that talks about the World War I Memorial in Washington, D.C. So stay tuned for some good stuff. And if you want to get to know Caleb or Kaden more, reach out to me and I'll connect you with them. We'll see you next week.